I want to go to America, the answer is no. I absolutely love it here. So I've been here now 5 years. My citizenship papers will come through once I hand my South African police clearance.
Oh,
So
yeah.
with COVID, that's been a pain to try and get that sorted from here, but it's coming. So I'll be a citizen soon and absolutely love it here.
I'm Dr. Shamanita Blanche, ex-corporate and academia girl, turned CEO and board member of several companies and mother of 4 little extraordinary kids. But it wasn't that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the know-how, and the time to focus on designing and really going after the life that I so wanted to live. A life of freedom, of fairness, and of being fair dinkum to who I really was and what I wanted to get out of this fleeting time that we have on Mother Earth. Fast forward to many lessons learned and moving halfway around the world to the most amazing country, you'll see the life that I now live. One that gives me more safety and freedom than I ever thought would be possible, and that really only existed as a daydream while I was living in South Africa. I created Shamini TV to give you true spot advice on how you can also live a life in this amazing country, and so that you can see how another couple like us now live in Australia with 4 little kids here in Down Under. And I'll be providing you with step-by-step strategies so that you can make your Aussie dream a reality too. If you're a keen future Aussie who's looking to create a life that excites you and offers you safety, freedom, and opportunity, you have come to the right place, my friend. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Brett. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from New South Wales, where you guys have been dealing with COVID for how many weeks now?
15 until the lockdown officially ended.
Wow. And how are you feeling? Can you feel like do you have claustrophobia, or are you okay?
Well, I've always worked from home, so that's never been a problem for me. We've got an office, and I used to attend it every now and then. And if you actually looked at some of the footage, like Bondi Beach and so on, what lockdown? So it hasn't been that bad.
True. Yes. The international media make it sound really, really bad.
Yeah.
But
what are we, the prisoner state or something like that, or captive state? I don't know.
Or the nanny state, sometimes they call us as well.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about your journey to Australia. When and how did it start for you?
So do you want the quick version or the long version?
How long can your hands hold the camera for version?
Yeah, I should apologize to everyone. In typical South African fashion, right? A boer market plan. So running late to get back to where I needed to. So I just pulled the car over. At least I'll be safe in the car, yeah?
I won't get hijacked. Nobody's going to hijack you.
Correct.
You can show your camera.
That's actually quite a funny thing. When I first arrived here, I had my phone in a hands-free kit, on the windowsill, and every time I got to a traffic light or robot, I did up the window so that no one would put their hand through and grab my phone. I don't do that anymore. My journey here, look, I was always going to leave South Africa. I felt that South Africa was a bit small for me. Mm-hmm. Most of my work was actually in America for my career, and I've seen more of America than most Americans have seen. I've seen 28 states. Wow. So, most Americans wouldn't have seen that many states in their lifetime. But the reason I'm in Australia is my father-in-law pulled me aside, and he's got 3 kids. We're all here now. In fact, he's just recently, 1 year ago, or just before COVID, he got in. So he's here as well.
Awesome.
And he pulled me aside and he said, you've got this love affair with America and you keep flying to America and back. And I've got a son and a daughter that live in Australia, and I'm getting on in the years, and I don't feel like spending the rest of my life on airplanes to visit grandkids. So don't you want to consider going to Australia? I'm like, why, mate? Like, why? I'm leaving South Africa because it's a small country, and now you want me to go to a smaller country? I'm a capitalist. I want to make money, Anyway, this went on for a couple of months, and he said, look, I tell you what, I'm going to pay for your fees to the same immigration attorney that the other kids used. just get the papers. You don't have to go, just get the papers, man. So I made him happy and I got the papers. And I think it was, you stamp in after your first year. Yeah, you've got to come here and stamp in. Now, I was actually on a round the world trip, so I just added Australia to it, so it wasn't an inconvenience. So I literally came and spent the night and left the next day. And then I'm not going into the gory details, but for everyone that still lives in South Africa or definitely knows, I had my own radio show on Cliff Central with Gareth Cliff.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so I had a show every Wednesday. I think it was 3:00, and with that, I did a lot of keynote speaking. And one night, I got myself into trouble. I just shot my mouth off. I got angry with people that were at one of the presentations. And long story short, they were waiting for me out, and I did manage to get away from the situation unscathed. And that was a Tuesday. I woke up Wednesday, and the Qantas 4-day sale email hit my inbox. So for everyone living in South Africa, if you're ever buying plane tickets, September, that's the time to look for plane tickets. And I phoned my brother-in-law and I said, right, this is what happened, and I'm coming to Australia. And he was like,
Wow.
oh, what happened to America? I was like, no, I've got my papers for Australia. I'm coming to Australia.
Wow.
And he told me not to come over December, January. So for anyone that doesn't know, when the horses start running in Melbourne at the Melbourne Cup until Australia Day on the 26th of January, nothing happens in this country except for drinking, good drinking and good partying. So I said, okay, well, when does it end? He said, well, after Australia Day, and that's the 26th. And I think 26th, right, of January.
26, yeah.
Yeah. And I said, fine, I'll give the country a week to get back together. I'll see you the early February. And that was it. I was here.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
if you ask me if I want to go back to, if I want to go to America, the answer is no. I absolutely love it here. So I've been here now 5 years. My citizenship papers will come through once I hand my, South African police clearance.
Oh,
So
yeah.
with COVID, that's been a pain to try and get that sorted from here. But it's coming. So I'll be a citizen soon and absolutely love it here.
That's awesome. And tell us about your other half. What does she do?
She's got a bespoke picnic business. So she does fancy picnics for fancy people.
Cool.
It's her family that I was talking about, that they're all here.
Which is what I assume. But is the picnic business, did she start that since she came to Australia, or was it something that was brought from South Africa?
She's always done like bespoke events and it. Like if I think back on my son's birthday parties, and that was the nice thing about running to the States. If she did a Minecraft party or whatever it was, they've got really big party shops in America. So I used to come back with suitcases full of all the stuff that she needed for the parties. So she's always done that kind of stuff,
Okay.
But the picnic just appealed to her. I think she started like at the beginning of COVID. People weren't going to restaurants. They couldn't sit inside, but you were allowed to go outside. So that's how this all came about.
That's awesome. You should please share the link with us so that we can put it below the video. That's awesome.
Oh, cool.
I love
I will
it.
do. Yeah,
and picnic is such an Australian thing to do because it's safe.
Yeah.
And the weather is great.
This is the thing, right? I mean, it's that's I think something that it takes a lot of getting used to. We go out and we don't lock the door because my son hasn't got a key, and I'm worried that if he's out with his mates, he's not going to be able to get back inside. So just leave the door unlocked. And I know that there's crime, and that things happen, but you've got to be really unlucky, And you're like, I don't know who's going to be watching this video. I'm incredibly pro-Australia. I've become very pro-Australia because of that, because of the fact that I don't have to worry about my kid running around. My wife can go out with her friends at night. So living in Sydney, our public transport system is fantastic. I mean, it really is an incredible system. So, she can go out, go to the city. I mean, imagine that we come from Johannesburg and we talk about going to the city to party at night. It's like,
in Joburg, you would not go in there even if you had the police escort you.
Well, you go to the city, you go to Sandton City. That's about it.
Or Gold Reef City, or maybe Gold Reef City. I don't know. Maybe Gold Reef City, no, not anymore.
No, it's not that. I don't think it's that safe anymore. But
the only other city I would go to is Sun City. Sun City is still cool.
Sun City is still good.
But to get there is a bit dodgy.
I'm definitely not knocking, or I would never knock South Africa. I mean, it's still one of the most beautiful places in the world. I mean, there is nothing like South Africa. There isn't.
Mm.
But I just got tired of looking over my shoulder. You know, we were joking off air about the fact that I can drive with my window open and not have my phone ripped out. Yeah, and even though there's only 25 or 26 million people, everyone has money. So there is spend here. You know, people spend money. They have the latest thing. You know, the best is I live in a very good area in Sydney, and on cleanup days, South Africans will love this. It takes a long time to get used to this. You can go shopping on the side of the road. There's
without
TVs,
paying.
there's couches, there's bras, heaters, elliptical machines, you name it, it's there. And the nice thing is you don't actually have to break into someone's house to get it. They've already kindly moved it outside and put it on the road for you.
and often they've cleaned it as well.
Yeah. Well, I got a TV the other day. I got a 48-inch TV with a remote and a little note saying, sorry, took the batteries out the remote because we needed them for something else.
And they're giving the TV away for free, but sorry, they took the batteries out of the remote.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So what do you do, Brett? What is this interesting occupation that takes you all over the world, apart from the radio show that you were part of?
So I've been involved in digital and more specifically mobile for a long time. So that was what I did, you know, mainly in the States. But here I have a digital consultancy. So everyone said, well, what does that mean? So anything that people want to do in the digital space, whether they need to build a website or buy media or plan just the strategy behind it. I still have my studio in South Africa, so it helps keep the cost down, you know, because labor here is expensive. Yeah. And also it's a team that's worked for me for years. Whenever I moved agencies in South Africa, I took them with me. So it's people that I trust. I've started Kazoik. It's an online auction platform. So playing into the whole e-commerce space and doing deals online. And then I built a virtual mall as well. So anyone that wants to sell products or services online, they can have a free shop in the mall. Then we just charge a transaction fee. So
that's
digital.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, I love digital. I'm a tech geek. I'm a nerd.
Well, then you're going to have to watch my vodcast and come on as a guest on Wednesdays, 2:00.
I would
Australian
love to.
Eastern.
I'm probably more geek than you think I am. So I would love to. Yeah, that's.
Well, I noticed the iPod, the AirPods in the ears. So that means that you're obviously an Apple user.
Yes, I am an avid Apple user. I know some people don't like it. For me, it's like I'm on a MacBook and Apple, and so I like the fact that everything just talks to each other without me having to plug in and plug out. That's really fun. But I've got a PhD in business information systems, so I'm real.
Yeah. When it comes to the machines.
So I used to be a business analyst, so I did the job of telling technical people what the non-technical people wanted to, and then explaining to the non-technical people what the technical people actually did with the product, you know, and that user experience and things. So so I love online space, and the world is moving so much more online. I mean, if it wasn't for the wonderful world of the internet, this would not have been possible.
Correct.
You would not have been able to have this chat. COVID would have been so much of a bigger disaster if we could not keep sanity to some level, anyway, for most people who have been in lockdown forever. If we didn't have the internet, we couldn't have, and computers, we wouldn't be able to have this chat with our friends and families. Tell me a little bit about your papers that you got to come to Australia. How did that process work for you in terms of the visa application?
Look, the first thing, I definitely advocate using an attorney. You can do it yourself to save the money. But I do think that, you know, I'm not going to promote any specific one. I think they're all pretty good. So we did go as I said, my father-in-law offered to pay for my immigration here. So we went through the immigration through, I got a skills migration. I think it's the 186 visa.
Okay.
As far as Australia is concerned, I'm an advertising specialist. I do not know what that means. It was one of the jobs that was on, and this is what I'm saying to the viewers. You know, if you go to an attorney and you pay that initial consultation fee, I have no idea what that is now. I think we paid like 500 Rand or something. I can't remember what it was. It was 10 years ago. It's the best money you can spend, because what they do is they actually look, no one can guarantee anything. And I mean, no attorney is going to ever guarantee anything. But, you know, the discussion went along the lines of, we think you've got a very good chance based on the following. This is what you would need to do. And then they ask you the question, as long as you're honest with them, the chances are you're going to get it. You know, they said, could you put a body of evidence together? So to your question on my visa, coming in on a skills migration, I had to prove that I had the skill. So I had to do a VTSS where they compare the equivalent of the South African degree to what it would be here. I have a Bachelor of Commerce. I have a Bachelor of Commerce.
Which
I like to
university in
call
South
it a
Africa?
Bachelor of Common. I was at UNISA, because I like to party too much. This guy waking up in the morning and going to uni wasn't for me. So I worked in the day and studied at night, and took 5 years to do a 3-year degree. But anyway,
hey, I'm the same. I've also got a UNISA degree, so
yeah. And so that was the route that I went in. It was great. I mean, it took me, I think it took us about 2 years. And I think there was also me dragging my feet. Like, I didn't put together, because it's a lot of work. And I think the most important thing for whoever's, watching this, if you're not prepared to put in the work, don't do it, because it doesn't happen. One of the South African mindsets is we always find a shortcut to everything. There's no shortcuts in Australia. There's no gray. Everything is black and white. It's very clear. The rules are very clear. That's why they call us the nanny state. But if you obey the rules, as most people do, it's easy. But the same comes to your visa as well. You have to supply certain things. So when your attorney says, will you be able to supply X? If you can't, don't tell them yes, because you are going to have to supply it. And I mean, I had to go, so because mine was advertising, I had to go and get customers to write me testimonials about the work that I did for them. If you lived in Johannesburg, or if you ever went to Johannesburg, there was a car dealership called Investment Cars.
Yeah, I remember them. All the smart
I did
cars.
the logo. That's my brand. I built that whole brand for them. So, they were one of the testimonies that I did. And I mean, we pitched against Euro RSG, which is one of the biggest brand agencies in the world, and we beat them. So these are the kind of things that I put into my proof of work. Excuse me, and then got him to sign it as well. So if you give them everything that you need, it's quick, it's easy. So that's how we came in. So I was kind of like at the end of my 4 years. So you got 1 year to check in, and then you've got 4 years to go.
After that, yeah.
So I dragged that. Now that's some advice. If I got a do-over, I would give people different advice. Don't drag it out. Not because you want to get here and get your job. So what happens, you only find these things out when you live here, right? So because I took so long to come here, my PR actually expires. You only get a 5-year permanent residence, because the thinking is that you'll get your residence, you'll be here for 4 years, then you're allowed to apply for citizenship and you get your citizenship. But because I came at the end, when I say it expires, they don't kick you out. Like, you don't get kicked out, or, but for me to travel, I had to go and get a right to return or residence return visa. Had to pay for it. It was like $300 something times 3, because there's 3 of us. And they only give you 1 year on that. So for the next 3 years, I had to keep paying for residence return visas. So these are little things, if you're going to apply, and because they say you've got 5 years, don't. Why are you applying if you're not planning on coming? Come, do the work, make the applications, and come. So yeah, that was one of the things, as I said, I learned. You pay your school fees.
Oh, well, it's good. You won't make the same mistake again.
Well, I'm not immigrating again. It's hard work. So I'm looking at an interstate move, and that's hard enough. So I'm definitely immigrating again.
So which state would you like to move to in Australia?
We're going to be moving up to Queensland. So
weather-wise, or job-wise, or?
I work from a laptop. So for me, I can be anywhere in the world. Actually, school-wise, there's a school there that there's only one in the world, and it's perfect for my son. So we're going to move. We do like the Gold Coast. If you move to Australia, the Goldie. But yeah, we like the Gold Coast, and we've literally been waiting for the borders to open. I've already enrolled him in that. And I heard today that the 17th of December, they will let us in.
Wow.
So probably.
And your
during
wife's
December.
business is also from a laptop, so
Yeah,
she could
can.
go anywhere.
I mean, look, she's got a lot of props and things that go with her. So
okay,
we're gonna have
you can get a container.
I was at 2 moving trucks, one for our stuff and one for her stuff. But she can do it anywhere as well. So yeah, that's not a problem.
Tell me about your son's move to Australia, and then also about this choice of the new school.
Yeah, so everyone comes here for different reasons. We didn't leave because of crime or violence or any of those reasons. We left purely because of BEE. I've owned my own business pretty much from day one. I think I've had 2 jobs in my life. So knowing that the potential future for a white male in South Africa, I mean, it is what it is, right? I'm just going to say it as it is. Wasn't good. Even the deals that I was doing to try and trick the system just to keep work in South Africa was becoming a bit tiring. So, we just thought for his future, we need to give him an opportunity. And that's why I didn't care if it was America, the UK, Australia, made no difference. But we wanted to go to a place where he'd have a fair shot. He'd get the job because he was the right person to get the job, not because he was the right skin color. And that's as simple as it was. Ironically, I love it here more than my wife, and her whole family is here. My whole family's still in South Africa. But that's what it is, right? I mean, it's circumstantial, it's situational, it's hard, it's tough. But the education here is better. If you can't afford private school, the government schools are fantastic. In fact, I'll never forget that when we went to day one in the government school, I had to sign a couple of forms, and then she gave me my invoice, and it was nothing. It was like $190 or something for the year. And she said, if you want to pay. And I said, what do you mean, if I want to pay? She says, well, your kid has to go to school. It's compulsory. So you don't have to pay for it. I'm like, what? So yeah, if you want to pay. I said, no, I can pay $190. It's not, even in rands, that's fine. Yeah, he went to private school in South Africa. So, and that cost. Look, private school here is expensive. I mean, it's hell of expensive. So the secret there is they use the area system here. You got to live in the right area. Kakals. Rather have a kak house in a good area than a good house in a kak area, but because of the schools. You want to get in. I live, as I said, I live in a terrible little apartment, old Art Deco. Yeah, I didn't want to go down that route. And what I pay for it, it's ridiculous. But we're in Bellevue Hill, which is one of the really good areas in Sydney. So the public schools are all the kids that live in this area, and it's affluent and wealthy families. So that's the one tip I would give people. If you're going to go to private school, you can live anywhere you want. Then you choose to live based on your lifestyle. Yeah. But if you can't afford it, then look at the schools first. Obviously, if you have kids, and look at the secondary school where they're going to move next, because he's not in the area. He goes to Rose Bay, which is also a very good area. But it could have been the other way. He could have gone maybe a little bit more south, and then, so you got to look at those type of things. If you look at the real estate websites, it actually shows you the schools. That's a great tip. So when you're looking to get an apartment or a house or whatever you're going to rent, at the bottom of the screen, it will actually show you the schools, and you can click, go and see the schools and read the reviews. It's fantastic. That's pretty cool. It's pretty easy.
So why are you moving to the Queensland School? What's at that school?
So it's called Silkwood. It's an amazing school. They don't have classes. So my kid went to Montessori in South Africa. So when we put him into mainstream school here, he's never really clicked. It's not that he's battling, but it's just, Montessori is very open. You do what you want on your terms. It teaches you to be an adult as opposed to being schooled. So he has battled with that a little bit. And now going into the years when you choose your subjects, it's been a bit harder for him. This school, there are no subjects and there's no classes. You choose a project, anything you want at the beginning of the year, and then they marry you up with mentors, with experts in the field, and at the end of the year you have to supply your project. And in that project, so for example, he'll do esports. That will be his first one, I'm sure. you have to work out what it costs to run an esports team. That's maths. Where do the esports teams play? Well, in this region, we play in Oceania. How do you get there? Travel. That's geography. So they teach real life skills through a real project. One of the kids in their year 12, which is matric, so we call them years in this country, he's already got his first year credits for forensic psychology at university. Because the project that he did in his year 12 will let him to get his credits. He was able to submit that to a university and claim first year credits against it. So that's why
that is amazing. Yeah,
that's why we're looking at Queens, specifically that part of Queensland, and then also we loved it up there.
Where about in Queensland is this?
The Gold Coast. But the Montessori, I highly advocate for it. It's not for everyone. If everyone says to me, but it's not real, whatever. Well, there's a little company called Google, and their two founders are both ex-Montessoris or Montessori graduates. And there's another little company called Facebook. Not that I think much of Zuckerberg, but Montessori. So they spit out a few decent people out there. But he missed Montessori.
Yeah.
And as I said, Silkwood is it's a great alternative, given the way they teach, because there's no teaching. It's just on your own, build your
facilitating. From which year to which year does the school run? Which year
from
levels?
Grade 0. It's a full.
Okay.
He's coming in late. I mean, he's going to go into year 10, but it's not too late. We did speak to him about this. He said, is this too late? I said, it's never too late. But he'll.
But not if you were brought up in that way of thinking, because
correct,
you can stand on your own 2 feet. So
yeah. So he's had 3 years or 4 years of mainstream now, which is not a bad thing. I mean, he got to experience it.
Yeah.
So that's why we're looking at the Gold Coast. But Queensland, as I said, Queensland is, I think it's the most visited place by Australians. So it's the Durban of the Cape Town of Australia.
Love Queensland. I lived in Brisbane for 2 years, and yes, just
that's very much like Durban. That's like the old Durban, the old days of Durban.
Yes, and lots of South Africans. Well, pretty much all over Australia, to be honest. Not that, some people come to Australia, some South Africans come here and they want to just remake a whole little South Africa for themselves, and then other people come over and say they want to just become Australian and not necessarily hang on to just having South African friends. But I think it's a good balance when you just start off here in Australia to have some South African friends who have gone through the same process and who can point you in the direction of, where do you go to buy your cook sisters if you want them.
I was going to say you need a balance. You need the network. It's hard. Especially if you haven't got family or friends, but you'll find that even if you do have family friends, they're going to have a couple of South African friends as well. The advice I give though is not to become too South African. You got to remember this is Australia. It's not South Africa. If you want to be South African, go stay in South Africa.
Yeah, exactly right. Why do you want to come here then?
So you do need to evolve. You don't have to give up everything. And we still, when we go to Woolies, we still shop. We get some biltong and ice zoos and Omar rusks and that from the South African section. There's a braai or two that happen every now and then with all South Africans, and we get together and we squab.
The last question I have for you is about what you packed in your bag, so to say. Like, what did you bring over?
Too much.
To leave?
Too much. So if I got a do-over, and for everyone watching this, bring nothing. Bring your photo albums or the things that are, and even then, ask yourself honestly, like, really, is this a keepsake? Things are cheap here. To replace, if you take the cost to ship stuff across versus what it costs to buy, and you can buy really good secondhand stuff here as well. But if I got to do over, bring nothing. Seriously, it's like, first of all, South African stuff is big. Our lounge suites are big. Our dining room tables are big because our houses are big. Everything is small. Houses are small. Apartments are small. Yet if you live on the first or the second or the third floor of a apartment block, there's no lift, and there's no one to help you on the side of the road that you can give 50 Rand and put him on the back of your bakkie to come help carry. It's yourself. Don't ever
or
buy
your
a bakkie.
ute, as we call it here. It's a
Don't
ute.
buy a bakkie or a ute, because you become everyone's best friend and your weekends become theirs. Because they phone you, oh, you've got a ute, mate. Need to move my couch. And then you have to carry it as well. So don't buy a ute. But
a quick tip for people who don't have utes and want to have utes: if you go to Bunnings and you buy something that you can put onto
I've done
just
that.
buy a door, or like one a houtplank. What's that in English? A wooden
a long
timber
strip of wood.
That's right. Then they give you either
a bakkie for an hour.
That's right, for an hour or 2 hours. And you usually don't need it for longer than 2 hours if you want to go and do something with it. So
I did that.
Drop. Yeah, we've done it too.
I bought a door, and I took the door home and I dropped the door off, and I went to fetch all the stuff I needed to. And then I brought it back, and then I took the door back saying the door doesn't fit. Sorry. Oh, no worries, mate. Quick refund. But there's another system here in Sydney called GoGet, where you've got these vehicles parked all over the place. Yeah. You just book them. The keys in the car. Dis luister almal. Die sleutel is binne die kar. Nee.
Amazing.
And you tap the window with your little card, and the door's unlocked, and you drive the car, and then you bring it back and you go. So we use those all the time as well.
Oh my goodness, that's just something out of a movie. Yeah. That's amazing.
So don't bring anything. And clothes, you bring some clothes, but if I got to do over, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And it's, it's a fresh start. You might as well just enjoy the fresh start. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom. It's been fun talking to you and just hearing. I love how you still, it's my pleasure. And I love how you still have so much of the South African or the Afrikaans lingo.
Yeah, you're not going to get that out of me. My name's not Joel Stransky. I don't arrive here for 2 days and start talking like an Aussie and then go back and start talking like a Safa. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, that's good fun. It was great chatting to you. Thanks so much, Brett. And please keep us abreast of how the move goes to Queensland. And I'm going to start looking up Silkwood because that has now just tickled my fancy too much.
Oh, there we go. Chat to you soon.
Awesome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you had fun, please remember to hit that subscribe button, and then it'll make sure that you never miss a thing. I'll see you same time and same place next week. Bye for now.